Hello everyone, good day and welcome to our channel, Alena Media TV. We are broadcasting from Toronto, Canada. My name is Elsa Abraham. We have some good news, and the good news is Alena Media TV would like to announce to our lovely viewers that we are expanding our programs, so kindly take note of our weekly activities. On Mondays, we'll report on COVID-19. Tuesdays are African history. Wednesday, world news. Thursday is African news. Friday is world history. Saturday, editorials. And Sunday is your say. Another good news is we are starting a satellite broadcast very soon. This satellite broadcast will begin on the 20th of June 2020, which will also be Eritrean Martyrs Memorial Day. Kindly take note of our frequency. Nile Sat Vertical 12728. Symbol rate 27500. FEC 5/6. We'll bring you more details after this short music. Kindly stay with us. In today's news, updates on COVID-19 cases in Eritrea. Now the news in details. The majority of political leaders across the world responded to the continuing coronavirus pandemic, which has already killed more than 190,000 people globally, by calling for increased international cooperation and welcoming any financial, medical, and humanitarian aid that is offered to them by foreign entities to help protect their constituents. Similarly, when the Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba's foundation, Jack Ma, offered to send hundreds of ventilators as well as hundreds of thousands of personal protective equipment (PPEs) to 54 countries in Africa. Most African leaders such as Ethiopia's Abiy Ahmed and Rwanda's Paul Kagame swiftly accepted the donation and expressed their gratitude, except the Eritrean government. The leaders of Eritrea, a country ranked 182 over 189 in the United Nations 2019 Humanitarian Development Index, however, surprisingly chose to reject the Chinese donation. So they didn't bring any equipment to the people. Vital equipment Jack Ma offered to send them. On April 5th, the head of economic affairs for PFDJ, Hagos Kisha, publicly confirmed that the Eritrean government rejected Jack Ma's donation, talking as a guest speaker at the bi-weekly National Consciousness teleconference, an exclusive online seminar in which senior party officials get a chance to communicate with their cadres in the diaspora. The man in charge of Eritrea's economy said the country does not want to become a dumping site for unsolicited donations. Accepting such offers would be against principled stance of the Eritrean government, which advocates for self-reliance, he added. Within the very same online seminar, he explained that the Eritrean leadership was now going to try and buy the medical equipment needed to treat patients from the incredibly competitive Chinese market and arrange the shipment of these items to Eritrea on chartered planes. Of course, despite its rejection of foreign aid, the Eritrean government does not have the necessary funds to swiftly make such purchases. As a result, it turned to its own long-suffering citizens and launched aggressive fundraising campaigns to make them donate the little money they have to the state to help the efforts to combat the virus. Thanks to these aggressive campaigns, some of Eritrea's most penurious citizens, including members of the National Service and Eritrean refugees, have already been caused to make donations. Diaspora communities have been sending large volumes of money to support relief efforts in the country. For example, Eritrean Americans have sent at least $4 million according to the US Embassy in Eritrea. While the Eritrean government undoubtedly hindered the country's ability to respond to this public health emergency by rejecting Jack Ma's donation, this was only one example demonstrating its tendency to value its own image and survival more than the well-being of the people, even during a pandemic. Eritrea's healthcare system is not strong enough to handle a deadly, highly infectious disease like coronavirus. Even before the pandemic, the country's healthcare facilities had been suffering from any acute shortage of supplies. At certain times, patients have even been asked to buy intravenous infusions from private pharmacies before being admitted to hospital. The government closed all private clinics in 2009 in the second wave of state seizure that started in June 2019. It also took control of 29 Catholic hospitals, health centers, and clinics. Meanwhile, the unfavorable working conditions pushed many Eritrean physicians and doctors to flee the country, causing major staff shortages in hospitals. And lack of quality public health care is not the only reason why the coronavirus pandemic is likely to have catastrophic consequences for Eritrea, with these two new cases emerging. Although many countries, including some developed nations, are suffering from a shortage of essential products as a result of the pandemic, the magnitude of the problem is double in the case of Eritrea, where import and export businesses have been banned since 2003. As even during normal times, Eritreans can only buy rationed essential supplies that are on sale in the governing party stores. They could not stockpile to prepare for a lockdown if it comes. Moreover, even if the state miraculously managed to secure extra goods to put on sale, Eritreans would not be able to do any extra shopping as they are not allowed to withdraw more than 330 US dollars in any given month from their own savings. This despite Eritrea being a complete cash economy. Since the mid-2000s, Eritrea's president Isaias Afwerki has been spending most of his time supervising dam constructions of Adi Hola. Yet the country Adihalu. Yet the country's major cities, including the capital, are still suffering from a chronic shortage of running water and electricity. In August 2019-18, the regime rounded up many water tank truck owners. Many of them remained in prison. All water bottling companies were closed in June 2019. This makes it impossible for many Eritreans to follow the hygiene protocols necessary to curb the spread of the virus. If not impossible, the regime has also made it very difficult for Eritreans in diaspora to help their family members back home. Eritrean citizens living abroad are required to pay the so-called 2% diaspora tax first if they want to send goods to their home country. Wiring money back to Eritrea is also not easy for members of diaspora as they are forced to use an extremely deflated fixed currency rate imposed by the government to do so. Eritreans are also suffering from a lack of political leadership during this difficult time. While the leaders of most countries are doing daily briefings to inform their citizens as the latest developments about the pandemic, President Isaias has not spoken to the Eritrean people or media for almost 4 months after giving an interview to the state-run media in mid-February, in which he did not even mention the growing threat posed by the new coronavirus. This prolonged absence from public life led to rumors that he is incapacitated or even dead. Sources close to the matter also said that it has been very difficult to get hold of him during this time. In an extremely centralized system where senior state officials cannot make the smallest decision without the president's approval, one can only imagine the damage caused by Afwerki's absence during such a crucial time. After his prolonged absence in April 18th, the president suddenly sent a 5-minute recorded message to the Eritrean people from an unknown location. Afwerki only mentioned the pandemic in the introduction of his message and went on to tell his constituents that COVID-19 should not derail the development programs his leadership also embarked on. His message made it clear that the pandemic is just a secondary concern for the government. The Ministry of Information, however, only translated into English the short section of the message where the president mentioned the pandemic. As it became clear that Eritrea is not going to be able to protect its citizens from COVID-19, rights groups, exiled scholars, and the UN Special Reporter on the situation of human rights in Eritrea have called on the Eritrean government to release the tens of thousands of prisoners of conscience who have been long languishing in overcrowded and unsanitary prisons. Many also expressed concern about the thousands of students who are living in cramped situations at the Sawa Military Training Center. During his online seminar, he also responded to these calls, brushing them off as hypocritical, rather than offering an explanation as to how they are planning to stop the virus from spreading like wildfire in prisons and military schools. He claimed this would be the best places for anyone who needs to be in quarantine. In response to the growing criticism on its COVID-19 response and concerns over the well-being of its citizens, the Eritrea's government issued a statement on April 6th accusing the United Nations human rights of harassment and claiming that the state's enemies are using the pandemic to push for regime change. While this accusation that human rights groups, media organizations, and the UN itself are using the pandemic to push for regime change in Eritrea as clearly unfounded, there is a very real chance that this public health emergency is going to spell trouble for Eritrea's authoritarian government. History shows that public health crises such as pandemics, food shortages, or extreme population harm all governments, but pose the most significant threat to authoritarian regimes. The 1973 to 1975 Ethiopian famine, for example, was the final trigger that ended Emperor Haile Selassie's regime in the country. In Sudan, it was Omar al-Bashir's repeated failure to handle such crises, such as the cholera outbreak of 2017 and the spike in the price of bread in 2018 that led to the demise of his 30-year regime. The Eritrea's government demonstrably failed to respond efficiently to the most significant public health threats the world has faced in a century. If it does not change its ways, accept the global community's help, and take action to save the lives of already suffering Eritreans, it is likely to survive past this pandemic. Considering the increase in transmission of the virus, we at Alena Media TV would like the public to strictly adhere to all precautionary measures. We need to be reminded that every single action we take determines the risk of contracting the virus. Therefore, we should maintain physical distancing, wash our hands with water and soap frequently, stay at home and avoid mass gatherings, cover your mouth and nose with face masks or cloth when going out. Stay safe. Our prayers are with you all. This is where we end today's episode of our news today. Kindly like, share, comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Let us know your thoughts on this particular episode. Thanks for watching.
سوريا كما مسوا كدكخي جبنا بدكخي عيكون محمد عيكون محمد عد السوق عد الجكنا ما عنتخي سوريا كما مسوا تخي جيد منك يا كون محامد ናይ ሕይወተይ ብዙሓት ዝጎዮ ከማይ ዝዘሕሙ ናይ ስድራ ቤት ፍቕሪ ፍጹም ዘሓረሙ ፍጹም ዘሓረሙ عدتجنا مع انتهي سريع بدمك تسوى تدكخي جننا تدكخي ايقونة لحمد ايقونة لحمد عدسو عدتجنا مع انتهي سريع بدمك مسواتي جيجنتي ايكون الحامد عمتك يقبر قلبك كذب حقي حقي فيا عامل ده بخافي بدمسي تياي أذاني تدخيخو بلاي فرح رعدي عبراخ نخيخو عبراخ نخيخو عدسو عدجكنا مع انتخي سريع بجمال مسوع تدكخي جينا دكخي عيكون نحمد عيكون نحمد عدسو عدجكنا مع انتخي سريع بجمال مسوع تخي جيبنا نكفي عيكون النحامة دقيقة حليفو قرب مس سنحنا معطونا تسيرو وقبله دفعنا سبزمة سبسيطة عطوة نغنا سدرانا حريدو كوسخ معانا كوسخ معانا عدسو عدجكنا مع النخل سريع بجمال مسوع تدخي جكننا تدخي عيكون نحمد عيكون نحمد عدسو عدجكنا ما عم تخي سريع بالجمال مسواتخي جدنتكي يكون نحامت والحمش تعامت نقشتو يا نيرة بحنقاق عبية فليتي خب صدرك فلما قدم بضيق حريرة بسبع الحموش أما كل أسمرة أما كل أسمرة قد السوق قد الجقنا ما عندخي سرية بالجمال مسوات تدكخي جقننا تدكخي عيكون نحمد عيكون